Hello everyone, once again another deck profile, this time introduced from set 1 and updated from set 2, it's Krystrain. Didn't do a deck profile in set 1 since I knew set 2 was going to have support and I was going to wait until we could make the deck a little more unique before making a deck profile on it. But anyway, what do I think about the deck? I really love the design and the bit of basically Bermuda and Highlander playstyle. It focuses on different names on the field, so meaning that you do want variety of units, while at the same time, it still plays with the Bermuda playstyle bouncing. And also design-wise is also pretty cool. But other than that, there's really not much to say about it, but as you can tell, since it's a Highlander playstyle, that is an inherent weakness, meaning that you have to run variety of units in this deck. So there are certain cards that might be too good that yes, you could run 4 of, but other cards where sometimes when you need variety of units, you need to think about that as well. So it is one weakness of the deck, but other than that, I actually really like it. It's been pretty fun, and so far with the new support, really just one card actually, it's actually been working out even better since set 1. It's actually working out even better since set 1, since set 1 was still kind of lacking something, but set 2, with that one new card, kind of fixes some of the problems, now with a lot more power. But anyway, let's begin with the deck profile. Of course, we start with the ride deck. Here's the starter. You can pick whichever one you want. And here's your grade 1, Lively Navy Tafine, which when the grade 2 rides on top of it, you can reveal the top card deck and call it if it's a grade 2 or less card, but put it to your hand if it's not. So regardless, you get a +1, which is very nice. And because we have like a bit of Bermuda playstyle in Lyrical, if you still call grade 0, you can still bounce that back to your hand. So it's actually not bad to call those units. In which we go to the grade 2, which does the exact same thing, except it's for grade 3s and lowers. So when you go to the grade 3, which is Krystrain herself. So first off, they kind of reworded the skill a bit, but I'm going to go by the description how I can make out of it. So first off, it's an axe skill where you can counterblast 1 and perform all the following abilities depending on the number of rearguards you have. So if you have at least 5 different units, you can perform all the following abilities, meaning herself along with 4 other rearguards. If you have at least 4 different units, you can perform 2 abilities. And you can perform 1 ability regardless on how many rearguards you got. It's as simple as that. It can get a little confusing on the wording, but basically, you counterblast 1, perform 1 of the following abilities. But you have at least 4 units with different names, perform 2, and then if you have 5, perform all 3. So first off, you can draw a card, energy charge 3, choose one of your units, plus 15k power in the end turn. It could even be herself, which is nice, and this unit gets 1 crit into the end turn. So all those 3 abilities combined as 1, not too bad. Plus 15k, 1 crit, energy charge, which is going to be of course very helpful, which is another reason why I love this deck because it uses the energy pretty well. And extra draw, not too bad. Of course, this is all just power buffing, but with a specific new support, that power buff just got even better. The extra crit pressure is also very nice, especially for the second skill, which is the Divine skill, where at the end of the battle it attack at least a grade 3 unit. You can bounce all your rearguards back to your hand and then superior call 1 card for your hand and then change that unit's power equal to this unit's power and crit. So if this card is like say 50k, or in most cases it might be 48 or 53k with 2 or 3 crits, that unit will become 53k and 2 or 3 crits. It's an okay divine skill. It's basically an additional big attack divine skill, but overall it doesn't exactly do too much other than bounce your whole entire field back to your hand, which is actually something because bouncing your whole entire field back to your hand basically replenishes your hand, and it could even be the PGs that you called. And in a way, it's a kind of a finisher skill, but at the same time, I think something could have been a little bit better with the divine skill here. But other than that, it's still pretty cool. It's just basically easy power, easy plussing with more energy, which this deck does actually use a lot of, and crit pressure, and can even do it as a finisher on a rear guard, which can combo off with other things as well. So that's it for the ride deck. Here's 3 more copies just for Persona Ride, of course. And then the next of your lineup could be anything. So first off, I run the 2 And the held, where of course this is the damage check or drag check one, where it gets plus 10k power and shield if your opponent gets one. And then at the end of battle, that this unit attack while boosted, you can soul blast one to perform one of the following: choose one of your rear guards in the same column as the unit and return it back to your hand, or remove an over trigger from the drop zone and then choose a unit with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your hand and call it to rear guard. But this is just another bouncing card, and right now, because Krystrain needs variety names, this is one of the better cards to run, so I just run it. And just for another one, since it's a rear guard reliant deck, is Evi, which in front of rear guard, all your rear guards with different names cannot be chosen by opponent's card effect. And because we got the different names part, this is very helpful for some protection. And when this card attacks its Vanguard, you may countercharge one, which does give some attack hit pressure with countercharging, which the deck does use a bit of counterblast. So having the ability to countercharge is also very nice, even though there's no easy way to countercharge right now, but the protection is still nice. So that's my grade 3 lineup. For the grade 2 lineup, so this one you have to run as a 4-of Anis, where when placed on rear guard, if you have at least a grade 3 Krystrain, you can counterblast 1. Energy blast 3, that's why you want the energy. Look at the top 5 cards of the deck to choose one card with a different name from one on the field and call it to rear guard. This is of course going to be very helpful because of course it refills your field. Obvious must play this for that. And the nice part is that if you actually call this with Krystrain's divine skill, you can call another rear guard, which gives you another additional attack. So basically you can get 5 attacks out of this if you play with the divine skill. So it's also pretty nice. But the second skill is when this card attacks at least a grade 3 Vanguard, if you have at least 4 more units with different names, plus 10k, which makes it pretty nice itself. But of course, if you play the divine skill, you're not going to get this power buff usually. But overall, this is just very helpful for the extra multi-attack. If you play with the divine skill, it also fills up your board and also big attacker, so you just have to run 4 of these. And now for the new card that you must also run for is Forsete, which is also very expensive because this card can be used without Krystrain as well. But the skill is, if this card gets chosen by Krystrain, the Vanguard gets plus 10k power. Because Krystrain can choose one of your units plus 15k, the idea here is that you will choose this one to get plus 15k, and then this unit will choose Krystrain to get plus 10k. Sure, Krystrain gets 5k less power, but it's the Vanguard, so it's good to have a lot of power regardless. So this is already pretty good combo with Krystrain. But the second skill makes it even better, where when this card attacks, if you have at least 3 or more units with different names, including yourself, plus 5k, so meaning total of 20k buff plus Krystrain. But if you have at least 4, you can choose one of your other rear guards at the end of the battle to return back to your hand. This is of course going to be very helpful because bouncing back is always very good, especially when you can just call out your PGs and put it back to your hand. And it's also very nice that this is another alternate option to bounce to your hand, and it's not restricted to Krystrain, hence why many people would run this to other lyrical decks. But overall, it just combos well with Krystrain because Krystrain chooses this chooses Krystrain, and they sing together and basically a melody happens. And then the last of the grade 2 lineup, it's up to you. Here's the generic from set 1, where you discard it to draw a card from a Counterblast or Energy Blast 3 with the on place for Persona right turn. You can Counterblast 1 or Energy Blast 3 to choose one of your units. It gets those 5k, and then at the end of the battle, bounce back to your hand. With the other one being Forsete, where this is the Soul Blast 1 to draw a card, and during the Persona right turn, you can Counterblast 1 to choose one of your Vanguards, and then your Vanguard gets the ability where all your units are 5k. Once again, it's just so you have more different name options, that's why you run both. And now to the grade 1 lineup. Here is Rum. So this one is the booster for Krystrain, where when this card boosts at least a grade 3 Krystrain plus 5k, so it's a 13k booster. While when this card boosts at least a grade 3 Krystrain, if you have 4 more units with different names, you can Energy Blast 3, hence why here's more energy usage. Until the end of turn, when your opponent would guard cards from their hand that is not with Sentinels, they must use 3 or more different grades at the same time. That 3 or more different grades at the same time can be very nasty if your opponent doesn't have the Sentinel. So yeah, that can be very nasty, but most of the time your opponent will have a Sentinel, but during certain times this can actually be threatening. And you technically got good energy charge outage here, so this isn't too bad. Overall, it's a pretty good booster for Krystrain, but it's not necessary to run 4. I could say 3 is decent enough. In fact, you just want to draw this soon enough just to boost Krystrain. But other than that, you could technically cut this down to 2. And then the rest of it is on you. So Nina, where when this card boosts, if you have 3 or more cards with different names, you can count 1, Energy Blast 3, draw a card, plus 5k. Being very honest right now, I rarely use this skill. But it's just there, just in case you need the extra draw. But it does cost an extra counterblast, so that's the problem, because this deck is counterblast heavy. And then there's the 2 Uica just for more different name purposes. And you can Soul Blast 1 to put the boosted rearguard back to your hand, which is also very helpful. And on same turn call, you can give that unit plus 5k. So there's that as well. And then because I only have 1 copy of these, I run the Elin, where when this card boosts a rearguard, look at top card of deck and put it on the top or bottom. Of course, if I have more copies of this, I would probably run an extra copy, but I actually don't. But regardless, this will probably be taken out for other cards in the future. But for now, you have to run those different names, so this is still pretty good. And then I run the cat that can be 20k shield, or basically Persona Ride Search by returning 2 ride deck cards from your solar draw zone back to your ride deck. And then finally, 4 PGs, all different names, just so you have more variety, different name units. And now to the trigger lineup. So I first run the OT, choose whatever to OT you want, especially since Lyrical has variety, but I choose the mermaid one just to fit the theme. I run 8 crits, 4 different name ones for the generics, 3 draws, and then 4 heals, all different name heals, 2 including the counter heals. So that's it for this deck profile. My Krystrain deck updated for set 2, introduced from set 1 but never did deck profile on it. What do you guys think of it? What other cards would you recommend and what other changes would you make? Honestly, I like the deck as it is right now, especially since most of the key cards are already in here. Just still remember that you still have to run those different names, so that is a weakness of the deck. But at the same time, I really like this deck because you can run variety of units, there's bouncing and a bit of Highlander playstyle, and the design is pretty cool as well. So I just overall kind of like the deck on how it is. But other than that, there's really not much to say about it other than just mix of Highlander and Bermuda. But anyway, there's really not much more to say about it. And now it's time to say goodbye.